So earlier this month, my mom, my sister Amy, and I, along with our assorted people, rented a cabin in the White Mountains together to attend a family wedding. And it was a fabulous trip. We had sweet dinners together, the fall foliage was gorgeous, we had a multi-generational hike at the Flume Gorge, played games after the kids were put to bed. It was easy, connecting, familiar. It was family time. But it was also brand new. Of the 8 people on our trip, 3 of them had never been on a family vacation with us before. My sister's husband, Otto, who she started dating only 5 years ago, and who, yes, was a former intern here at UUAC, said he felt like the old-timer in the family. This trip was the first time that any of us had spent significant time with my mom's new partner, Peter, who, as an aside, my sister's 7-year-old Leo refers to as her dater, which is how Leo refers to anyone is dating or married to. It's awesome. I think it's hilarious and brilliant. And it was also the first time that my partner Justin had joined us on a family trip. And it was the first time that Leo, the 7-year-old, has been on vacation with us since joining our family through foster care 2 years ago. In fact, the last time that my family went on vacation together was only 2 years ago, summer of 2020. We all had to get PCR tests and quarantine before going on this vacation. Remember those days? Right? And on that trip, their now almost 3-year-old, Mara, who was just 6 months old, she was tiny, she was a baby, and we cut that trip short because my sister and Otto got the call from the Department of Children and Families saying that then almost 5-year-old Leo needed a home, and could Amy and Otto take them? And so this year, on a sunny day at the Flume Gorge in early October, we asked a stranger to take our picture. And I'm sure that stranger would not have guessed that this was the very first picture ever taken of these 8 people together, and that the road to this particular configuration of my family had been so marked by loss. This is how the heart makes a duet of wonder and grief, poet Mark Nepo writes. Everything is beautiful, and I am so sad. There's a lot of loss in my family's story recently. As many of you will remember, 5 years ago, my dad died suddenly. And it has been a hard road of mourning his loss and making sense of his death. A little over 2 years ago, I ended a partnership of 10 years. And my sister's kids have both experienced the loss and trauma inherent in being removed from their biological families and placed into a foster home. And when I look over the last 5 years, we've all gone through a lot of stuff. And yet, here we were, in early October, getting to know Peter, and gosh, we really like Peter. He made us laugh, he jumped right into ribbing us and making fun of me and Otto's jobs. I was like, how did you know so fast that was the joke? That we're all nerds here. He mentioned to me that I look more like my dad than my mom, which is true, and which also means he's seen pictures of my dad and that he's willing to talk about him. And most of all, he clearly adores my mom. And this is how the heart makes a duet of wonder and grief. It is such wonder. It's so beautiful to see my mom happier than I've seen her in years, to see her delighting in this connection with somebody that the rest of us also really enjoy. And my sister reflected during the weekend, it feels so nice to be together, but also so sad because Dad isn't here. And also so complicated to feel so happy, but also know that this wouldn't have been possible if Dad had been here. And this is how the heart makes a duet of wonder and grief, as we struggle to make sense of those good things that come after loss. The mixture of acceptance and healing and meaning-making and pushing back on the bad theology that says that everything happens for a reason, which is a terrible thing to say to somebody who's lost somebody. Let's just be clear. But the fact is that sometimes loss shifts the direction of our lives, and our futures still have beauty in them, in ways that they never would have otherwise, even if we wish that loss had never happened. Our dad never got to meet his grandchildren, and that is a deep loss for our family, because he would have adored them beyond measure. And yet, it is such a delight to watch my sister and Otto parent these kids. It's such a delight to have these children, my nibblings, which is a gender-neutral word for your siblings' kids that I learned a couple of years ago. Nibblings, to have my nibblings in my family, and to hear them calling, Aunt Heather, over and over again, bidding my attention. And for us to tell them stories about our dad, who was posthumously given a grandparent name, Kappa, his nickname from his cycling buddies. And it's a tender sweetness to see them use the nightlight that their Kappa built in his woodworking workshop, and to tell them how much their Kappa enjoyed soccer just like them, and to see these connections that persist beyond death, and to watch our family begin to weave a relationship between him and these grandchildren who never got to meet their grandparent. In the midst of the loss that has shaped this family, there is still so much beauty. The way we hold his memory and pass on stories and give Justin and Peter and Leo and Mara a chance to know this man whose life and whose death has shaped the rest of us so profoundly. I am so sad, and everything is beautiful, Mark Nepo writes. I know that you too, you who have lived in this world, you who have lost things and people, partners or parents, friends or love, or pets or jobs or good health or part of your identity. I know that you too have experienced the tender interplay between wonder and grief. The beauty that comes from the ways that grief lays bare love in front of us, because we do not grieve the things we do not love. And I think loss has a way of sharpening the wonder sometimes too, of bringing into focus the beauty of the love we had and of the love that we still have for the people that we've lost and also for the people still in our lives. When our lives are shaped by loss, which most of our lives are at some point or another, we often long for ways to make sense of that duet of wonder and grief. And while I want to be very clear that I don't believe that things happen for a reason, I do believe that in this world where beautiful and terrible things happen, if we keep our hearts open and our eyes soft and our words true, as Nathan reminds us to do each week, we can still find beauty and love and connection and meaning after loss, and that this is how the heart makes a duet of wonder and grief. Mark Nepo continues, in the very center, under it all, what we have that no one can take away and all that we've lost face each other. It is there that I'm adrift, feeling punctured by a holiness that exists inside everything. What have you lost, dear friends? And what do you have that no one can take away? I have lost one version of my family, and I have not lost. In fact, I have found a new and different and beautiful version of my family. And I have lost my dad, and I have not lost the love that my dad had for us and the love that I have for him. And it is somewhere between these two truths that I am adrift, holding both wonder and grief, love and loss. And I know so many of you are adrift between these truths as well. Our hearts making duets of wonder and grief, weaving together the sadness and the beauty, the love and the loss. And we are together in it all. Amen.